What's up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. Today I am beginning a segment that is going to be fairly regular. In fact, it might be weekly if I can think of enough segments to do this with. The segment I'm beginning today is decks that make you better at the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! The decks I'm going to be talking about are decks that either on their own make you a better player, or that teach you how to play better through the mirror match. Now, you mostly know that I kind of have a massive love affair going on with Mermails. They're one of my favorite decks, but what you might not know is it's actually something of a rite of passage at my locals for players who are considering becoming more competitive to play Mermails. And the reason is because my circle of friends at Dice Age Games, we believe that Mermails are one of the most skillful decks of all time, but they also teach a player how to play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Better. So today I'm going to go through a few things that Mermails do to help you to play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! At the highest level you can. Mermails teach you resource management in a way that no other deck does, because they have cards that have a comprehensive range of resource use, from something like Abyss Sphere, which is a 1 resource commitment, to something like Abyss Megalo, which is a 3 resource commitment. While they're playing Mermails, a player learns when the best time is to go for each of these commitments of resources, because it's true that even though it's a greater risk for you to commit more resources, cards like Abyss Megalo are more powerful for the commitment of the resources that you have to use. Players can carry that knowledge of committing resources and the risks and benefits involved to almost any other deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Almost every deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Requires you to make choices as to which play to make at what time, but when you look at a hand of Mermail combo pieces, there are more potential plays in that hand than in almost any other deck in the game right now. Mermails are also fairly unforgiving about these options. When you look at that multitude of options, there is always one that is the right choice, and if you go for the wrong one, that will make or break the game almost immediately. Mermails are all about the balance between passive and aggressive play. You can make plays that are passive but give you good setup, or you can make a play that is aggressive and makes a big push during a turn. And oftentimes you have the ability in one hand to do both, but you have to choose which one to do in what turn. Planning ahead for the rest of your game is crucial when you're playing Mermails, because if you choose to do setup or a push in the wrong turn, or if you choose to get the wrong combo piece for a future turn, you are absolutely boned. It doesn't mean that the deck cannot make the right choice, and if it doesn't make the choice, it's not good, because it's amazing once you figure out the right choice, what pace to do the deck at. However, you really have to plan your games ahead, and that's true in every game of Yu-Gi-Oh! However, when you're playing with Mermails, it's very obvious how the game is affected by your ability to plan ahead. The final and possibly the most important lesson that you can gain from playing Mermails is how to deck build effectively and use your ratios. Have you ever noticed how different builds of Mermails look? They all look absolutely and completely different. There is not a deck in this game in which you have as much variety between two decks that top as with two different builds of Mermails. The reason is because of the massive card pool that the deck has. There are so many cards that could potentially support a Mermail deck, and almost all of them, except for a very select few, are at 3, and the choice becomes which of those are the most optimal ones to use in a format. You can see players using Deep Sea Diva, but other players will decide that even though the OTK potential with Deep Sea Diva is really strong, they don't want to have the potential to have that use up their normal summon and get blocked and leave you with a puny monster on the board. This example is just one of many. The use of Abyss Squall. Do you want to run a card that is slow but incredibly powerful? How many Linds do you run? Do you only run them for the purpose of using them for Abyss Sphere, or do you occasionally want to be able to draw into them to be able to run into a Winda so that you can kill it and make more plays for the rest of your turn? These are just a couple of choices that you have to make when you're building a Mermail deck that can make or break your matchups, and it really comes down to what you think you're going to be playing the most in a day to determine what your deck is going to look like. And that is true in this deck, not just of the meta calls that you make, but in the way that you build your deck to run, because a Mermail deck can run at a different pace depending on what cards you run. And understanding the balance between pace and power is really crucial in playing any other deck in the game. Just Mermails allow you to do that in a very visible sense. You can see when you play Mermails how the small changes in your ratios have changed the pace and the power of the deck, as well as the consistency. So I'd recommend that any player who wants to become better at the game play Mermails at locals sometimes. It's a small setting and a fairly easy setting where you aren't going to be expecting to go through extremely rigorous testing, but it gives you the option to play the deck and have a good competitive chance in a smaller format. Almost as soon as you pick up Mermails, you are going to see a noticeable change in your skill as a player in all four of those categories because of the visibility with which changes in the way that you play your game change the outcome of the deck. So that's how Mermails make you a better player. If you liked that video, do hit that thumbs up button. If you did, let me know why in the comments section below. And of course, subscribe for more deck discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.